purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We're here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distraction during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from time for money paradigm. We focus on creating streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Beautiful. We've got the perfect amount of numbers. Everyone got to go twice there. That's fantastic. So, Tony, I know you said you had listened to it, but you hadn't. That was a week or so ago. As your number one, are you okay to share straight away?
Yeah, sure. Well, what I wrote down, I listened to the whole 11 laws in one sitting, so I didn't go into it as in depth. And then as we've done each session, or each law, I've gone back in more detail, but I haven't had a chance this week with this one. But I would interpret it as what used to be called the law of sowing and reaping, that you give and you shall receive according to what you give. So I think for me, the essence of it was to give in abundance and give willingly without expectation of return. And that the karmic law, if you like, will take care of that. Or perhaps this is the law of giving and receiving as well as receiving. It will come back to you, but perhaps not in the way you expected. Very often the universe surprises you with a reward in some other way. Something else I wrote down when I was listening to that was that Bob Proctor had said was we must replace the wasted time with productivity. That's about it, I think.
Perfect. Okay, I've got a few questions in this one, which I'll ask later on if there's time for that. But definitely that we need to make space to receive. So we must give something or let go of something first. And that if we're just wanting to get stuff, it's actually paralyzing and we won't actually get anything at all. The law of circulation, I love that we're actually, can say we're doing our bit by keeping the energy flowing, that it's just constant, and we're, what do you call it, like vessels that it flows through. I think he used a different word, but yeah, and that whatever energy that we put out, that's what will attract back to ourselves, which helps back to the law of attraction one. So we need to send out positive energy, which I think today the vibe on this call is, did anyone else pick up? It's really super positive, I thought, which is good. And that the biggest thing was that you give out of what you have, not out of what you don't have. So no one has an excuse to not give, because we're only expected to give out of what we have. And it reminds me of little story in the Bible with the widow's mite, where she put in out of her basically out of her nothingness. She put everything she had, and that she was going to be way more blessed than the people who had lots of money and just gave, you know, their tiny bit of it. So I've always thought that that's a really good thing to live by, that, you know, it doesn't matter if it's your last dollar, if you give it away, it's going to come back to you. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Fiona. So a couple of things came up for me that I picked up. I thought it was interesting when Bob was saying about thinking controls everything. So it's like, what are you thinking when you give? Like, you know, what mindset you coming from? Are you coming from the, you know, he gives that story, doesn't he, of donating, or he's supposed to donate $20 and it was $100. Is that right? It was been a few days ago when I was listening to it, but he gave the $100, but his mentality was like he was supposed to give the 20. So, you know, what he's receiving back is coming with that $20 giving mentality. So I hope that makes sense. What else was, interesting for me, and something I was reflecting on and just going back personally, is he says as well, what I have in my life is what I've given. So you kind of like just, you know, look, I took that to mean like, you know, what you have in your life is what you've previously given out. So that's an interesting one to reflect on. And also you hear this time and time again from finance, money gurus, business people saying you have to create space before you give something, before you can receive, sorry. So, you know, you're giving something and letting go of something, like clearing out the spare room or something like that, and then, you know, things come back to you. So yeah, a few interesting thoughts come up, and because Bob frustrates the heebie-jeebies out of me, I also do some like other research, and I found this really beautiful document, and it always ends with a quote as well. So the quote was, "I give with ease, love and joy, knowing that what I give is always what I will receive in return." Thanks, guys.
Beautiful. Great shares, Tony, Fiona and Melanie. Thank you for that. I'm going to start with one of the overviews, shall we say, of the law. And it says, the law of receiving works hand in hand with giving. We must give in order to receive. However, we need to let go and not be attached to what we want to receive too obsessively. We need to trust the universe will somehow give us what we want, and all we need to do is to be ready to receive it. How much we receive will be limited by how much we allow it. Now, that's one of the overviews that's in the file section, the PDF, that gives an overview of each of the laws. And what I'm a visual learner, so I really enjoy Bob Proctor's breakdown of the book by Raymond Hollowell. However, to challenge myself, I'm actually reading the PDF version of it that Lisa Bowen kindly put into the file section of the group, which is a challenge for me. However, I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm getting so much more than just listening to Bob. So I'm listening to Bob, and then I'm diving in this, and I've got so many notes, so many things I highlighted, but one in particular for me has kind of been what we've touched on is, whatever you give it with a free and willing spirit. Give it without no obligations or dictations attached. Then it will come back to you unburdened with obligations or restrictions of any form. He who gives much receives much. To give your best is to receive the best in ratio to the degree of your giving. Now, a few things came up for me with this. One of them was actually the masterminds. So a lot of other people out there, and this isn't a judgment, this is not a judgment. A lot of other people out there are just putting on one mastermind, which is fine. But I looked, when I created mine, I went, I want to be of service to more people. And for me to do that, I have to give more of my time to create that space where people can come together. Hence why approximately, it's supposed to be 4 hours. Beth would roll her eyes right now. It's supposed to be 4 hours, an hour for the foundation call, an hour for the Gold Star call on the Wednesday morning, an hour for the foundation call, an hour for the Gold Star call on the Thursday evening. Now, they always go over because there's so much value being shared and given and received. And it made me realize that when I originally created them, I said that I wanted to bring people together. And if people chose to join Noble Goldman, great. But my focus was to bring us together so we could share and grow together. That was the intention behind it. And I've been amazed at how many people have received value from the intention, where I haven't directly gone to them and said, hey, come on this. I think I reached out to Tony in the beginning and said, hey, check out this or something, and Corey. But I let go of it after that because I wanted a few key people that I felt were, well, I knew that, and I've got something for you all as well. Around the Knights Round Table, I wanted to make sure the people I had around me were people who I classed as vibrating higher, bringing a level of excellence into the community to help me learn and grow from. I did not want to be the smartest person on that table. So, but knowing that I bring something that they maybe don't have. The other side of it, when I was reading this, was the pay it forward system. Because when you read that, whatever you give it free and willing spirit. Give it with no obligations or dictations attached. Then it will come back to you unburdened with obligations or restrictions of any form. He who gives much receives much. Now then, remember with the pay it forward system, the focus is give your 2 best players forward. Now let's change it from he. The person who chooses to give their best receives the best. So this is really important to be looking at and going, I'm not doing it because of what I'm going to receive, but I know that this is in place to allow me to receive, and I am open to that, and I am going to action that in order to receive the best. Does this make sense? So there's so many little things that when we look at the laws, there's already stuff happening around us that we can actually look on and go, I'm already in here, let's implement it, let's move forward with it. So that's what I got from that, a little over 2 minutes, but certainly worth value.
Well, everybody, terrific, really awesome shares. One of the things that came to mind for me on this, because Fiona, I have a horrific history of giving beyond my needs to my own detriment, which I have since corrected. But when we think of giving, to not just think of giving money, giving time, giving energy, giving love, giving our patience to somebody that needs it, or that sort of thing. And to not, when I feel like if I give of myself for anything, and have an expectation of a return, I choose just to trust the law, because I think when you keep a scorecard, it negates the beauty of the act of giving. And for me, so I just do what I know is right, what feels right in my heart, and just kind of cast the law to the wind for me personally. And so far, so good. But that was my main takeaway there. And it's just amazing. It doesn't matter what any of these laws are; they all come back to gratitude, caring, and giving, and that's that's the basis of all of it, really. The whole game, so to speak, for me. All right, that's it. That's my 2 minutes of fame for the week.
Julie, what has come up for you in regards to the law of receiving and giving based on what's been shared? Anything that you'd like to share? If not, that's fine. But you're on mute, by the way.
Okay, just as well you told me, talking away and nothing. Yes, well, you all listened to a presentation, I gather, from Bob Proctor, did you? To make
Yeah, so
comments
one of the video trainings in the community is the 11 Forgotten Laws, where Bob Proctor basically breaks down the book by Raymond Hollywell around the 11 Forgotten Laws.
Okay.
So you can watch that and access the file and so on. But for
I'll
now,
watch
we're
it
just
in retrospect.
yeah, just whatever you received from this morning.
Right. Really, this afternoon here. The law of receiving is always a very interesting one, isn't it? Because it's one I have difficulty with. I think it's easier to give sometimes than to receive, and to receive with openness means that it's about deservedness, I think, really. This is just my thoughts on it, because it was one that I had trouble with myself personally. I was happy to do things for people, but when it came for them doing it for me, I felt most uncomfortable, and so that's a bit of an interesting one. That's what's come to mind for me on that one, but it was very interesting to see the different interpretations of the law, the law of receiving. Yeah. Because it's balance, isn't it? It's balance. Yeah, no. I need to work some more on it, exactly from the point of view of what you've probably read and listened to.
Yeah, you'll definitely receive a lot of value, and I believe that, just on with that before we go to Corey, when we choose to take the time, Corey wants to be on two programs here. Look at it, he wants to be controlling the whole situation.
I want to get off my phone, bro. I want to get off my phone and onto my PC.
Oh, good, mate. So I think what's important, especially when we're going through the laws, is that we are choosing to give our time, our energy, our attention, and we are going to receive the information that we need to move forward and implement that law. So I think there's always something that when we give our time, those of us who are doing the 90-day success challenge, I mean, we're only on day 2. Does anybody feel like they're receiving something from what they're doing? Because I feel incredible how I'm going through what I'm receiving from it, but I'm choosing to give my energy, my time towards it, and what I'm receiving has been phenomenal just at day 2. So, and I'm by no means perfect on completing all the tasks. So you'll definitely resonate with a lot that's coming through, Julie.
I was just thinking, that the whole mention when I was reading through the bits and pieces about 90-day challenge, I nearly sort of did backward flips, and everything was just, no way am I going to do 90-day challenges, because we hear them everywhere these days, 90-day challenge, 90-day. And of course I realized that I've been avoiding doing anything like that, and that's a problem. So already in my first sessions with you, I can see that the 90-day challenge is probably just the very perfect fit for me to receive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For all of us, Julie, you're not on your own with that. Please know that as well. You're who here, just a show of hands, when they downloaded that document, had a little bit of I know I did.
I haven't even downloaded the document then, so that's to come.
Yeah. Well, now you know you're in the same boat. So, okay, cool. Corey, we've got 5 minutes before we just have a minute silence.
All right. So as always, I'm going to speak about my experience in life, rather than about what Bob Proctor has told us. I've been away on camps and men's retreats. I've been working with, I probably worked with 60 teenagers over the past 2 weeks. And it was interesting. When in between, I did a men's group, and it was a Christian-based men's group called the Crucible Project. We kind of got compressed. They took away all our sunlight, and we didn't know what time it was. So they would feed us. It might have been 3 a.m. in the morning. So we had no concept of time. But when I had my Bible there, they asked us to bring our Bible, and I was just sitting reading my Bible, and the guy there says, "Hey, Corey, he goes, what are you reading? I said, I kind of just flick through my Bible and I just go to a page and whatever my thumb lands, that's what God wants me to read at the time. And he said, he was a Jewish fella, and he said, hey, when our sons go through Bar Mitzvah, we get them to read Proverbs 1 through to 31 each day. So on day 1, they read number 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. And when I come back, I've been getting my son to read that to me. So we've been doing it together, essentially. You do that for a whole year. So you read 1 through 31 for a whole year. So repetition, you get lessons. But this morning it was about pride and humility. So when we come from a place of pride, and a good example is this morning, I came home and I'd trained hard and I was a bit fatigued. I really wanted to rest, but I had to be going to get breakfast ready for the boys, etc., etc. So I compressed my timeline because part of the 90-day challenge is exercise. The only time I could exercise really was at 5:30 this morning. So I made that commitment. But I was talking to my son, like, he goes, I don't understand that because it speaks in old language, right? And then he was talking around, I said, well, pride, this morning, a classic example of pride is when Dad got the shits on with Mum because she asked me who I was messaging. I got defensive because it was like, are you on Facebook again? Was basically the essence of the question. And instead of being positive about it, I got really negative. And then my wife mumbled under her breath, it's going to be one of those days. And then I said, what did you say? What did you say? And she's like, it's not important. It's not important. And in the end, I went to the back room and said, like, just tell me what you said, even though it wasn't really important. Like, it was just for her in a dialogue. And then I just made a point of, like, the next time I seen the boys, I'll come out and I gave her a hug and said, hey, like, I don't want today to be one of those days. And I come from a space of humility. And then she was able to drop her bullshit, basically. She was able to drop her inner child wound because I dropped mine, essentially. So she was mirroring where I was at, right? And often where we're at is what we get back from the world. So if we drop our frequency, our vibration, then we get that back. And for me, I work for nothing pretty much compared to what I earn coaching. Like, an hour of coaching is 10 hours in the bush with the boys, basically. So the return on investment is not there for me. But I spend the week with the boys, and then I listen to what they're saying, and I don't follow the script, right? We get given a script to follow, but I just change the program. So I created basically a new program around taking off your mask and letting go. Letting go is one of our processes, but essentially the kids will be silent. It's going to be a minute. I've gone well over my 2 minutes again.
There's 30 seconds before it's 11 o'clock.
So anyway, basically I gave these kids, I took them on a journey of, like, happiness, like, what does happiness look like for you? And it was all about people around them taking off their mask and being their own authentic self. So then I created a program around that, and now I'm going to drop that into my online program. So I gave that wisdom, and then I received the knowledge that I need to give that to men moving forward.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Right, here we go.
Can I just drop one thing off the back of that?
Yeah.
I think we get caught up in giving and receiving of money, right? And the book, I feel like I could rewrite the book differently, Think and Grow Rich, because people get caught up in the money. And that's not really, money is a byproduct of us giving and receiving what we have, right? Giving and receiving of our knowledge. So I had one of the teachers, right, and he wasn't in on the program, and it was a Christian school, and he asked me about my faith, and I gave him my story, right? Like my whole story. And then I talked about like the inner child wound and
You've gone, we can't hear you. I can't hear you. No, we can't hear you, mate. You're muted now.
is it working now?
You're back now, yeah.
In essence, this guy, right, he was talking about challenges having with his wife, and then I started talking to him about his inner child wound. So I made a comment about how I get defensive when my wife asks me to clean my shed. And then he goes, oh yeah, that happens all the time in my life, right? And then I start sharing a story around that, around his inner child, and helping him create space to like not be, actually to create space to not judge. I judge my inner child from who I am today, which is nowhere near where I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, right? Or even when I was a child. We can have moments, and that's what this guy was having. He was having a moment of like it was his 6-year-old self, right? And then he was judging it with his 32-year-old self. And then that just perpetuates the issue of where we can just go, hey, I'm in that moment, I'm in that younger person. And I guess I just shared that knowledge. And then I said to him at the end, which is kind of, I'll wrap it up here. I said to him at the end is that I'm just teaching you this because I need to embody it. So when we give lessons to people, we're actually fully embodying those lessons, which is why these are so powerful, right? There's an opportunity to share our wisdom and actually embody that at a much, much deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. Tony, great share, mate.
Thanks, Corey. That was great. I just wanted to add something that really stood out for me just doing that minute silence was that was the ultimate act of giving and receiving. And, you know, the perfect day for us to be talking about this, It's just the universe we should never be amazed at what happens. The universe keeps bringing us these rules and these laws and these lessons at the moment that we need to learn them. But yeah, I just straight away thought about my father and all those guys that like men and women that gave over 5 years of their life fighting a war, so that basically the world could enjoy freedom. And obviously many of them paid the ultimate sacrifice of giving their lives so that we could all enjoy that. So something to ponder on this day.
Yeah, powerful. Go on, Corey.
Yeah, we're actually still paying for it, right? Like those men they sacrificed their lives, but they also sacrificed their livelihood. And what children lost, I've had a conversation with an 80-year-old guy about my son, and he burst into tears and I've probably told this story because it's powerful and it's something that drives me to create change. He started crying and I said, "What's going on for you, Peter?" And he said, "My dad left to go to war when I was 8 years old. He came back when he was 14. There was no men. They all grew up with women, right? And they had this abandonment wound, which then they carried on to not be able to communicate with their sons. And those sons passed it on to me. Like I'm the son of a son that was passed on to from my grandfather, who was a Cossack in the Russian army, right? Or great-grandfather, so 4th generation. And then I have a choice whether I pass that on to my kids or not, right? And so war, they say 5 generations, right? We're about 2.5 generations out of Vietnam. They say 5 generations to move beyond the trauma that's caused from a war or from slavery or Aboriginals in 1967 not being able to walk into the city. It's 5 generations unless we consciously create change in people, create change in ourselves to be able to pass that on to people. And that's the law of giving and receiving right there, right?
Yeah. And isn't it, does anybody find it then interesting? And I know Fiona, you've got a couple of questions. I know Melanie, you want to touch on something as well. does anybody find it very interesting and in a way fulfilling that there are many times that unconsciously we are actually activating the universal laws in their own right? Like in that moment there where we chose to just hold space and share gratitude towards all the people, men, women, children who sacrificed during that time. Like in society, we say, hey, 11:11, take a minute silence. But what we're choosing to give there unconsciously is activating the universal law of giving and receiving. And what did anybody feel an incredible amount of love and energy through doing it? Like it's, I may be on the like a bandwagon about the universal laws, and it may be like it sounds like that's all I'm talking about, but I am just fascinated, truly fascinated. I am just embodying it as much as I can because everything feels right when I'm looking and diving into these right now. And everything else, I just shared it on the call before, so much has shifted over the last couple of months for me. And every time I'm diving deeper into the universal laws, it's as if nothing else matters external. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to like you guys on this call, but what I'm talking about is that nothing external matters because all that matters is me activating my true self via the universal laws, which then influences externally to everybody else. Instead of worrying about everything outside of me, I just got to focus internally. And those universal laws are just, they're literally, I feel like I'm just wrapped in this unconditional love, and it's all based around the universal laws. Tony.
You might think that you're focused internally, but you're not. You're probably one of the most giving people that I've ever met. And why you're getting that now is because you've given so much and continue to give so much to everybody else in the group. And this 90-day challenge is the actual absolute manifestation of that, because the energy that's being created in the support group there, with everyone commenting and supporting each other's posts, and as they put their flight logs in there, that's incredible. I mean, it's you can feel that everyone is uplifting everybody else, and that stems from you. You've started it. You've created. You've set the example. So it's no wonder that you're feeling like you're getting it all back, and you're experiencing it. So I would, to use Russ's words, I'd like to acknowledge you for that, Martin.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, thank you. I didn't even see that, but so thank you for sharing that. Julie.
I just wanted to just quickly say, you know, with the minutes of silence that we did, that, you know, receiving and giving, whatever, you actually just connected with yourself, and that is, you know, your source is pure love. So that is what you, I think, were feeling. You know, that's, and I'm not quite sure how the receive and give come into it, but they weren't present at that point. That was just pure love. That's just something I might have observed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we shared it on the call before. The 3.5 to 4 day event that I just did. I mentioned this, and I'll just quickly cover it for you guys that weren't on. It was very, the way that they described it, I can't remember. It was very intellect, and I had to break it down to help me understand it. But basically, what was said was we have to take ownership for everything that happens in the world. So, and I said, well, does that mean that I have to take ownership for somebody committing adultery or being a rapist or a murderer? And they're like, absolutely. Like, you have to take ownership of that because you have that ability within you. If somebody else as a human being can do it, you can do it. And then on the other side of it, because of the law of polarity, there's also people who we view as inspiring, who are sharing love, who are actually stepping in that space of, if you will, enlightenment. We also have the ability to do that. So when we take hold of everything, and it's all it comes back to is what you just said there, Julie. It's just love. It's love with no judgment, no levels of it. It's just pure unconditional love. And when I heard that, and I went, okay, so if I choose to judge somebody else, then I'm actually lowering the vibration, not only towards them and in humanity, but also towards myself. Because I also have that tendency. And at times I have, like I said earlier, I have committed murder. I've said something that's affected somebody else, that's made them feel like they're not worthy, and therefore I've murdered their potential. I've murdered my own potential. Like Lisa Bowen had said, people have honesty as their highest value. But there's been countless times when we've all been dishonest with ourselves. So how can honesty be a highest value? We've been dishonest with other people. So, but at the same time, awareness, and then sending that look back and going, okay, I realize this, I can now make better choices. I can choose to behave better. I can choose to act different without beating ourselves up. So it's a really powerful thing around that feeling the love. I don't want to miss the opportunity for this, but the time that we have. Fiona, you said that you wanted to ask some questions around giving and receiving.
The big question that I had, and Melanie actually brought it up, but didn't go into it, was about the Billy Graham thing with the giving the $100 when he meant to give 20. I actually don't understand what they were on about there. Were they saying that, you know, that the increase that he will get back will only be based on the $20? You know, like to me, it was really weird. Does anyone else actually understand what they were on about?
He meant to give $20, right? But he accidentally gave $100. So his mindset was set at a $20 level, as it were, as opposed to like $100 level. So what he would give back, even though he gave 100, would be that $20 mentality.
If that doesn't make sense in the whole law of giving and receiving. To me, the whole thing should have been the other way around, that he meant to give 100 and gave 20, he would still get the return on the 100 because that's what was in his heart. Like, to me, I didn't think that there was any point to that story. Yeah.
So can I chime in?
Yeah.
I think, sorry. I think he's talking about mindset, right? But he's just convoluted it with money again. So the $20 I didn't listen to this and I would have shut down listening to that. But you've got a scarcity mindset, right? So for me, I've had somebody approaching me to do a course, right? The course is like, it's expensive. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. But it was actually not about whether I was capable of doing it or not, because the support network within the vessel is actually there designed to help people shift from not being able to do a program to being able to create and deliver a program. I'm already capable of delivering a program, but had a belief system that I wasn't capable. So when this guy approached me, the first time he approached me, he said, oh, this is the cost. And it was a massive discount. That money literally came into my bank account that morning from a coaching client. Then he approached me again, same thing again. The money was in my account. Third time, he rang me up. He goes, look, man, we're launching this container in a week. Are you in? And the money was in my account again that morning. So 3 times, so I've earned triple the value of this program in the last 4 weeks, say. But I had this scarcity mindset around, I'm not worthy. Who really wants to hear what I've got to say? So that was the language that I was wrapping around it, right? And it was just easier to say, I don't want to invest the money. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. So I think that's what they're trying to say, is that if you could give $100, right? But if you have a scarcity mindset that you're only worth $20, then that's all you're going to get back. That's what I believe they're trying to say. So I believe when I launch this program, I've already got Legacy WA on board for like the first run of the program. And then the second run of the program, I'm going to pitch it to Rio Tinto, et cetera, for 10x what I paid for the program, essentially. So I believe I'm going to get 100x back of what I've invested in that program over the next 3 to 5 years. But that's my essence of what I took from it, that it's a scarcity mindset. So if you've got an abundance mindset, you think you're worth $100, you're going to get the $100 back. You think you're only worth $20, but you give $100, you're only going to get $20 back. And a good example of that is that I started a charity from scratch, right? I poured $90,000 into that program to get it up and running. And then I simply could not get any funding to keep it going. And that was all to do with my own internal worth, 100%. If I did it again now, I'd probably raise $1 million. So that's what I think they're talking about. They just create noisy, messy language around it. I could be wrong though. Tony might tell me.
I just wanted to, a thought occurred to me when you were saying that, and I love what you said there, Chris. I think you explained it pretty well. I hope that's explained it for you, Fiona. But the question that popped into my mind then was, when you go from thinking you're worth this to being worth that, how does that impact then on you operating from your own ego rather than from a purity? Just something to ask and maybe get a few thoughts.
So I don't give a flying fuck about the money. So sorry people, but I'm not attached to it. I don't care about money at all. My paint business has tripled in turnover in the last 2 months, and I've not done a thing to move towards that, creating more money. I don't care about the money. Like, it's from a place of heart, right? And the thing that I'm going to do, the money that comes back to me is I'm going to build a facility so men can go run programs. I'm going to have massive teepees on there. I'm going to have big fire pits. I'm going to have sweat lodges. Like, I'm going to buy 200 hectares down in Bridgetown. Like, I don't even want the money. So I'm not attached to it at all. So that's my answer to that, is that it's about my self-worth, right? And you and I could go into a much deeper conversation around that. I'm not going to go into it too much here. But on my men's program, I'd carry shame. I'd carry shame for 30, probably longer than 30 years, right? Because my mother, instead of saying I love you, would say, I want to kill you and don't effing come back here. I've just let go of that in the last week. I'm 44 years old. So all of a sudden, I'm not fighting with my wife and getting on better with my kids. Abundance is coming into my life in terms of programs that I can give back, but it's all attached to this. It's not attached to any of the external stuff, which is what Martin was saying before, right? When we come from heart space, we get abundance. I think if I came from the space of I'm going to make $1 million, I'm going to go buy a Ferrari, it wouldn't happen. But I really have no attachment to money. And I don't know, I told the world that I was going to retire at 40 when I was 21. I didn't even really have a job. Like, I was an apprentice boilermaker, and I was determined I was going to retire by 40. And in essence, I was. How that happened was not ideal, but I put out into the universe. I said to the universe, I'm going to retire at 40, I'm going to retire at 40, I'm going to retire at 40. And now I work, but not because I need money. I work because I work with teenagers in the bush. I coach men to be better men, and I charge a pretty significant premium for that, because if I don't, they don't do the work. If I do it for free, they don't do the work. So I charge a premium, and then they commit to doing it, right? But I'm just investing all that back into building this. I've just built a website. Like, everything's going back into making more so I can have more impact. How many people can I impact? But I'm not a guy, like, I'm not Happiness Co. I'm going to impact 10 million people, you know? But I think if I impact 13 teenagers in the bush, I impact 13,000 people they impact 10 people, and that's 130, and those 10 people impact 10 people, that's 13,000 people. If I train a facilitator that's going to go on to coach, which I'm doing tomorrow, I'm going to the bush for like 24-hour stint. I'm leaving this afternoon. I'm leaving at 9 p.m. tonight, and I'll come back at 9 p.m. tomorrow to teach a facilitator how to run programs. That will have a net impact of 1 million people, right? Over the life of him coaching and teaching young people how to be better human beings. And that's what I'm all about. That's what giving and receiving is for me. I really don't care about the money, eh?
Can I ask a question, Corey?
Thanks
Go.
so much for that, Corey.
You said you don't need the money. Is that why you don't care about it? Like if you're in a different situation and you needed the money, would your thought process be different?
Not really. I spent 5 years not working at all, where I potentially needed the money. I was at the point where I was going to have to sell my house, and then something happened to bring money into me. So I just believe that I will always be okay, regardless of how much money I physically have in my hand. I just believe that I'll have enough money to put food on the table, to have a shelter, and live a relatively comfortable life. But I've always been able to generate money from nothing from a very young age. And I guess that kind of gives it less importance when you can, everyone has the ability to do that, but right, it's just about our mindset. I just believe that money, for me, back in the past, money was about self-worth. If I had money, so there was 3 things that I attached to my self-worth, right? It was my size. So I was a big guy. Like I'm still a big guy now, really, for my height, but I was 10 kilos bigger and at a quarter of the body fat that I'm carrying at the moment. So I was a big, big guy. So that was my protection mechanism. And fast cars and money. And I built those 3 things as like this barrier of shield around me to protect me. So I've created a bunch of tools on how to generate wealth, but I wouldn't even say I'm wealthy, really. Like, I didn't go, when all my mates, like I was earning a lot of money and all my mates went and bought multi-million-dollar houses in Applecross, you know. I still live in my house that cost me $200,000 in success. I've been here for 20 years. So it's also about being smart with your money and not, you know, the road to Babylon, keep 10% for a rainy day. I've been keeping 10% for 25 years. So therefore I have a big buffer of safety.
Thanks for
So
sharing.
sorry, the great distinction you've made there really is, you know, that misquote, that frequently misquoted sentence about that money is the root of all evil. Is that it's not, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. So it's not about the money, it's about the value and about what you can do for other people with that money.
Yeah, powerful. Great share there, Corey, and thanks for the question as well, Melanie and Tony. The thing that came up for me through that conversation was, is there any, right, okay, show of hands, who agrees there is an infinite amount of money available to us in the world? So we can't even imagine opening a bank account and just seeing those numbers continue. As we're looking at it, those numbers continually to grow. So we've all agreed there's an infinite amount of money available to us all. So why is it not in your bank account? And Corey touched on it. All it comes down to is self-worth. In January, I went to an event that was called Mastermind and Money. And I actually thought I was going there to structure my accounts and figure out when money comes in, what percentages it should go somewhere else. And that's never been, I'm not that way. Like all that kind of accounting stuff is not where my energy is. And one of the things that I've always been is I have no attachment to the money. Right? My business partner, Dave, was like, we need to know the sales, we need to know the numbers, and I'm like, no, I don't. What I need to do is go out there and talk about the water, talk about the product, talk about exactly why I love it, blah, blah, blah. The money will come in. I'm going to do what I need to do. There's no point me talking about the money. I'll do what I'm doing. So I never had an interest in that, but he did. So when I went to Mastermind and Money, I soon realized it was nothing to do with money. It was 100% to do with self-worth. And he said, the reason why your money's not there is your self-worth. And I'm sat there going, far out. He said, I guarantee you show me your bank account and I will tell you exactly what level your self-worth is at. I will tell you where you're missing out. And he said, and I'll tell you exactly why you're not achieving what you're here to achieve. Now, and he was all around the universal law, so he already got me because that was exactly what I needed to hear. And then when I went to, so I did the second of 3, I'm not doing the third one, but I did the second of 3 courses last week. And the penny dropped. And he said to me, I found out my 3 core values. I asked him, the last event, I said, these are my values. And he said, they are your values to this point, but they're not going to get you to where you need to get to. And I went, okay, he says, I will uncover what your true values are that need to take you to where you're going to get to. And I'm like, okay. So at the event, my true values are gratitude, connection, and experience. And he said, and he told me exactly why, based on what I've written down. He said, if you live your life now from this moment in gratitude, in connection to others and self and experiences, I guarantee you, your whole life will change and you will be amazed at what comes in your bank, because you are living your life aligned with your core values with no attachment to anything else outside of them, and therefore your self-worth will increase and everything will start to grow around you. And I went, is it really that easy? He said, it's not, life isn't designed to be hard. We just think that we have to be doing certain things. But if you live your life filling you and you're vibrating such an incredible energy because you're living what you want to do and you're here to do and what truly fuels you or fills your cup, you'll just be given the abundance. But you have to be serving yourself. And when you serve yourself, you're organically going to serve others.
Yeah. So my avatar, I've spoken about this a few weeks ago, but my avatar is me 5 years ago, right? And my avatar is me as a 14-year-old. And that then empowers me to really be of service. Mm-hmm. I was talking to a teacher and I'm like, he goes, oh, what else do you do? I said, oh, I go out to can. I was away for 10 days and I canned 8 coaching sessions at $500 a pop. I was getting paid $35 an hour. And I only got paid for 10 hours, but I was in the bush for 24. So, but I gave, and I was talking to a teacher about it. And he's like, why do you do that? And I said, because the money's not important. My highest value is creating generational change. Like, that's it. And the money will come, right? But it's not important. When we have less importance on the money and more focus on who we are and who we want to serve, the money will come. Like, my coaching clients pay an absolute premium to coach with me. I've doubled my rates 3 times in the last 3 months and people are still paying it.
Yeah, powerful, mate. And that just goes to show that self-worth. That's the key. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I believe I'm worth. And like you say, it's not actually about the money. It's actually not about the money. But hey, Russ, good to see you on. I'm thinking you've got the time wrong because we've just done an hour. So you're on mute as well, buddy.
I apologize. I'm not on the same time zone. So it's like the time, if the time of the call, if the time of the, have you changed the time of the call?
No, we don't change our time zone, yeah.
See, that's where the confusion is, because I don't change either, but California did. So I was basing it on California time. So you see, so what I did is right now I'm on Rocky Mountain time. I mean, I technically I'm always in the Rocky Mountain zone, but we don't observe the time change. So I was going by California time. So I was thinking it was an hour later, but actually I could have stayed put because you guys stayed put too. And then that's why I'm late. And there it is. Nobody's ever just late, are they?
We
Okay.
missed you.
No. Thank you. What a sweet thing to say.
We did. Mate.
Well, I've got to go. What I really regret is that I missed what Corey was saying because I love it when he talks.
Oh, it's
Tony?
recorded, mate. Anyway, so I'll upload it into the private group. Tony.
Yeah, buddy.
So that it's like almost perfect timing that Russ drops into the conversation right at that exact point that we're talking about money versus value. Because if anyone's qualified to talk about this, I think it's Russ.
Oh, really? In what context?
Well, the conversation, you can catch up on the replay, but it was basically Corey was making that distinction about saying he didn't care about money, but he does really. He cares about what he can do with the money to help other people.
Yes.
He doesn't care about the money in terms of just filling up his own bank account or buying a flash car or something. It's about wanting to create a ripple effect across the world. And to fund these things, you do need money to make them happen. So we do have to pay attention to carrying.
Somebody told me once, they said, money's not the most important thing, but it's right up there with air. You know?
Yeah. Zig what?
Yeah, was that Zig that said that? So what it is for me, a perfect example of, is that I think it's an illusion that we work for money. And yeah, the value part ties into that, Tony, but the part of it that's most important to me to see, that I saw about myself a long time ago and therefore incorporated it into my training, was that I think it's an illusion that people work for goals. That's the paradigm, is that, you know, you set a goal and you work for the goal, but the goal is actually just a measurement of what you work for. People don't work for money. They work for rent. They work for, you know, choices that they don't have. Those are the things that move people, their commitments, their concerns. And so money, or even in the context of the Olympics, the gold medal isn't what they work for. Now, that's the illusion. Why would somebody participate in Olympic sport and do years of training and sacrifice and sweat and pain to not go for the gold? Of course they go for the gold. But when they win the gold, what do they do with the gold? They put it in a trophy case, or I mean, that isn't worth anything. Now, in the United States, it might be, if it's in track and field, it might be a $30 million Nike contract. That could provide some things that you're committed to, couldn't it? So my point about it with money, particularly, and in terms of what we work for and what I submit, even though I missed what Corey was saying, I know enough about him to say this, and this is true for you, Tony, and it's true for me, and probably everyone on this call. I know it's true for Martin, is our core commitment, if I was to pick one, just one commitment that we have, it's contribution. And I believe in a lot of human beings, that's the deepest commitment of all, is the need to make a difference, the need to make a difference for somebody else, the need to give to somebody else and have an impact outside of ourselves. And some people could even say, well, that's selfish. Well, yeah, in a way it is, because it's about making you feel valuable and you feel good and you feeling worthwhile. My goal that I have for the foundation is a selfish one. It is about me. It's about me, my life meaning something, my life counting for something. People, when I'm not here, saying, you know what, this guy, he did something that mattered. And that gives me peace. That gives me okay on my deathbed, that my life was used to do something that made a difference. All about me. I guess that's the ultimate ego trip. Maybe.
Have you read?
I don't give a shit,
Russ.
I don't care. Yeah.
Have you read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations?
I'm sorry, Corey.
Have you read Marcus Aurelius Meditations?
No, I haven't.
it's interesting. He speaks deeply about that. But also on that, Tony, before you were talking about, the thing is, I put into the world that I wanted land, right, to create a facility. And I put out that I wanted coastal and I wanted a bush facility. I've been approached by someone who's got 2.5 acres in Lansland with a cray boat who's got probably $100 million in the bank. And I've been approached by someone who's got 45 acres down in Harvey who wants to work on building a facility down there. So I don't actually physically need, that's the thing, right? It's just energy. I just put it out into the world that this is what I want. And I put it out into the world that I need X amount of money to go buy 200 hectares so I can go do A, B, C, D. And then the world just bought the opportunities to do that without me actually having to spend a cent.
I think that's a really powerful share, that, Corey, as well, that one, that goes right back to self-worth, as in you are worthy to receive that. And that person who's got it is worthy to have it and is willing to give, and therefore you're able to receive. Well, going right back to what Tony said, which was a really good point, and certainly a lot of what we've been conditioned in society from what we've allowed to happen, is that, yeah, I need to have the money to create that. But really, one of the beautiful things about it is that through you being clear on what you want and what you want to achieve and want to contribute out there, you've given the opportunity for somebody else to contribute that land and come together and therefore create something that's even on a completely bigger scale than if it was just you on your own. I think that's that's the power of being clear on what we want to create and putting it out there and trusting the universe is going to, in all fairness, hear that messaging and go, just like we do with networking, hey, Joe Bloggs down the road with all these acres of land was looking to actually create that. Let's put you two together and make it happen.
Hey, that's moving from the me to the we to the us.
Yeah.
And the Gold Coast is next, right? Like, I'll build this in Perth, and then I'm going to build it in the Gold Coast, and then I'll build it in the New South Wales hinterland, and then I'll build it in South Australia. And then I'll go, hey, Russ, do you know anyone in the US that could duplicate what we're doing here? And boom, 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 you know, all of a sudden, we're creating massive exponential change in the world.
I'm in.
Yep, me too.
I you know, and also, this is probably redundant, but for me, this is just the law of attraction is what we're talking about here. It's really that fundamental, and yeah. Sure, I'm glad I showed up. I thought I was early. You know what? I thought I was early.
So good, Russ. So good, mate. So I know that it's gone past the hour. If anybody needs to go, that's fine. Melanie, I know you had asked the question around paying too forward or something.
Yeah, can I ask that question, Russ?
As well as the dinosaur.
Yeah, I was going to say, Russ, can you just check the comments, please, and answer that question as well?
Russ doesn't use the comment section, so you'll have to just
I don't. No, I'm slightly challenged when it comes to things like that. But
so my husband wants to know what dinosaur you have behind you. We were talking about it over dinner the other night.
That is Suchomimus. Suchomimus was an apex predator in Egypt in the mid to late Cretaceous period.
Thanks. I'll play him back the recording at that point.
I was going to say, like, good luck remembering that one, Mel.
We're about an hour 10 in, so I'll skip forward to that stage. Thanks, Ross.
You're welcome.
So the pay it forward, you're saying, and we've discussed this before, Martin and I completely agree about paying the best two people forward. How does that work? Because I approached somebody recently who would be absolutely amazing in this space. And I was really excited and sent them the video, and I was like, this is just what they're after. You know, I had it all set in my mind, and they came back and went, yeah, looks interesting, thanks, Mark, but I've got a lot going on and it's not for me. And I was like, damn, I really wanted to pay them forward to Martin because they would have been amazing. So what I'm doing now is like the cold lead strategy that Mark touches upon with the groups, etc. And that's a bit like a potluck. So, you know, somebody may jump in and I have no control who that person is, that then becomes my first pay it forward.
Okay, maybe I lost something.
Sorry, I'm just shifting onto my thingy because I feel like I need to go on the board. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Ross, maybe you came in at a good time, mate. Maybe this is a good time, actually.
Yeah, I think maybe it is. I'm really jazzed.
And Julie, just take your time with this. Just we're just going through this, so you're going to get what you need to receive from it. Okay, so don't freak out about anything. So, what I'd encourage you to look at is that, okay, we are all in the state of, or the space of, self-mastery. Would we agree? Not saying we're ever going to achieve it, but we're all focused on evolving, becoming better versions of ourselves, contributing to society, and creating a legacy. I mean, we just heard Corey just roll off. Are you going, Corey, or are you got to go? See you, mate.
Yeah, he's got to go.
I gotta go, guys. I'll listen to this and then I'll drop out. I've got a call in about 5 minutes.
All good, champ. Thanks for your time, mate, and your contribution. So
And
So
I've
we're
got to
all
go
in that
too.
space.
Sorry, I must go too.
Okay, Julie, no problem.
Okay,
Take care.
thanks.
They're dropping like flies. Hurry up.
We won't be letting you in again, Ross. You're upsetting everybody. So what we've got here is, and what I'd encourage you to look at is that because we're already in this space, we already know people who are also in that space. There's no denying it. We're already connected with people who are in that space. The biggest thing that we have as challenges is we automatically tell ourselves that, hey, I don't want to be recruiting. That person won't be interested. So we actually are disrespectful to other people because we already say what we think they're going to say. We're making a decision for them. They're going to say no, which then makes us stay in our comfort zone because we don't want to be uncomfortable and we don't want rejection. Now, what I'd encourage you to all look at, I've literally been working on this last night, is this here is your round table. Now, you are King Arthur. That's who you are right now. So here's you. And what you've now got is, I haven't got a gold pen, and it's better I haven't got a gold pen because you want to be able to see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. PIF, PIF. So these are your 12. These are your 12 nights, and you're paying your 2 nights forward. So what I'd encourage you to look at is, who are my nights? Who in my network, all the relationships that I've had, all the connections that I've got, especially since I've been shifting and peeling the layers off, who in my network is a night that I want in my round table? And even though we're paying forward to people, we don't let go of them. We're just gifting them. We're giving them to our sponsor, but we are still their sponsors. That's important to know. You're not cutting the cord here. They are still part of what you brought them in. They came in because of you. They aligned with you. They aligned with the values and the value that's in Noble Goldman. So they're still part of your round table. But on your table here, because of the way the system's built, your focus now, who are my 12, knowing that my 2 best are going to go forward, because when my 2 best are paid forward, I'm getting 2. I'm going to do the whole thing, which might annoy you. 2. In paying 2 of my best forward, I've now gained 20 of my night's best 2.
Right.
Now imagine if your focus is, these are the people that I want. If right now, each one of you brings an incredible amount of value to my life. And I am so grateful for that. I am grateful that I chose to step out of my comfort zone and be here right now, because what I receive from you is incredible. Now then, when I look at my round table, if I was to put your names in there right now, Tony, Fiona, Melanie, Corey, Russ, knowing that you five are extremely strong and you're my knights, and I know that I can depend on you. I know that if there's anything I need, I can reach out and say, hey, Fiona, this is my challenge. I'm struggling right now. Would you be willing to give me a bit of your time to help me through this? I trust that Fiona would show up as her authentic self, her strong self, and help me through that. The same as I would for her. Now, what I've now got is, hang on a minute, us five, or rather us six, including myself, coming together, we've got a load of empty seats. Now, I want to be of service to you guys by making sure I fill these seats with strong knights, because these seats here are ready to share value to you, to help you move forward, and they're ready to receive your value. So when I'm sat down, like literally I was creating all this model last night, I was drawing it out and going through it and going, right, well, who are my 12 knights? And when I first decided to start moving forward with NG, I literally wrote down, who do I want on my mastermind? And then when I got those people there, I then went through, who are the next 50? Who are the next 100? Now, I didn't actually reach out to those people. I just created it here. Actually, I'd tell a lie. I did. I reached out to, I think, 3 of them, Corey, Tony, and Lisa. And the reason why I reached out to them was because I actually wanted feedback. I knew that Noble Goldman was going to resonate with them and they were aligned with it, but I wanted feedback to what I was creating here. And I knew that they would be transparent with me. Now, they've become shining knights, but I didn't go to them with the intention of them being actually here. Even though I put them in there, I didn't go and say, I want you to join Noble Goldman. If you don't join Noble Goldman, I'm not going to speak to you again. I went with them in the intention of, I want to understand what you see, because I value you and I know that you bring so much to me that I don't have yet. I want to receive your value. When they came in, and Corey was ready to run a bloody mile. But he was like, what? And he asked me the question, what is it that you see in this for me? How is this going to work for me? And I'm like, bro, this is how I see it. And now his gratitude and what he's gained from it is incredible. So I'd encourage you to look at, you never know who are going to be your 2 strong ones. You never know who are going to be your 2 best. You don't know who you're paying forward. But I'd encourage you to look at who you're already connected to and go, do I want these people to be my shining round table? Because the people that you're not connected to in the groups, you don't have a relation with them. You don't know who they are. If they step up and they come in, great, and they become a great friend and they add value, fantastic. But you've already connected to your 12. So then the thing goes right back to what we were discussing earlier around self-worth. Am I worthy of speaking to these people and having these people around me? And the only reason we won't ask the question is if we don't believe we're worthy. Because it'll come back to self-worth. I mean, you do a lot of training around this, Russ. Is there anything that you want to touch on it here?
I'd love to, actually. We're getting to the same place, going a different way. I also wanted to mention this because I learned something I think very powerful about a week ago, and I put it on training site and also in my mastermind group site, but I'm not sure whether you guys saw it. I should have thought of putting it on our group. But 2 things really. I have come to see, thanks to you, in large part, Martin, as Noble Goldman as like almost an extension of what I'm creating. Like I've had this idea of creating this movement, this idea to shift the way network marketing is held and done, called Success by Design. And then that has panned into getting that work out in the world and then building a foundation. One of the things that was missing for me was a way to pull a team of leaders and people together, that we were all creating something together. And I was assisting them in what they were creating. They weren't helping me create something. They were, but that was a side effect. I got to be a part of what they were creating was the important piece. And Noble Goldman provided me with almost like a vision for how that could happen. And it started with my conversation with Mark when he said, Russ, he said, you know, your 1,000 millionaires are right here. They're right here. And then I started to think, okay, I know this structure. I know this works. And in my experience with this type of a structure, which interestingly enough is often referred to as an Australian two-up, not that that matters, but this type of structure where people have a breakdown and they get caught up is their first two and giving them away, and they're not mine, and should they be my, you know, the people that aren't going to do anything, or should they be my really best people? And all kinds of different things are thought about that. And there's a lot of different opinions. My opinion is it doesn't matter. All your people are your people, all the people that you introduced to this, including the first two, because you don't lose them. You're just, as this structure says, paying it forward. Now, they are just as powerful in working with you, and they're just as much a part of your team as anyone else. But if you duplicate putting the best in, no matter who they are, whether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then what you're going to be duplicating is that's what other people are going to do. They're not going to get hung up on who the first two are. And so the beauty of this, and you just illustrated it beautifully in a way that I wouldn't have thought of doing, and I think it works really good. I just have people think of it like this. If you consider that every leader from 3 on brings 2 leaders to you that go to infinity, that's the big piece that a lot of people don't talk about that's missing. They're 2, but they're 2 and they're 2 and they're 2 and they're 2 all the way down. And when you start thinking, it's not the amount of money, but you start paying $100 to infinity, let alone times 20 or 40 or 100, you're talking about ridiculous amounts of money. And I know that's not what it's about, but you don't have to worry about how little or how much anything is. What you've got to focus on is the contribution and the structure and the benefit, the product, which is masterminding. That's the product. The product is having other people contribute to what you're doing, tapping into other resources bigger and outside of yourself. And so I'm talking to this guy, and this guy is going to be Ed Broberg is my look. When I started, I started, okay, I'm doing my mastermind thing, and I finished my first training, and now it was time to start Russ's masterminds. So I said, okay, who wants to be part of my project, and how can I be part of yours? And just identify yourselves. And I had 20 or 30 people. Now, some of those people were already in Noble Goldman. So those are, but they're still invited in my mastermind. And yet I had a whole bunch of people that I had brought into Success by Design, or my people had, and the people that were my core leaders, they're like, well, I want to do Noble Goldman. Half of them didn't even know what it is. So I had to explain it to them. But I thought, okay, how do I limit my masterminds to like 50 Noble Goldman goals that I'm going to do? And then I came up with this idea, well, not everybody's going to be able to come every single week. And if I have 2 of them, then I'm going to rotate them in and out. And my goal is to have them have their own mastermind within 6 months. That's kind of that's my strategy. So I think I can get like 20 or 30 or 50 people running in and out here in relatively short order. And that's precisely what's happening. So I had a candidate, and this goes right to you, Melanie. I had a candidate. This guy is building a network marketing business. He's someone who loves the whole idea of leadership and masterminding and personal growth and all of that. And in this company he's in, he's included in what the company is calling a mastermind. But what it really is a distributor advisory board and a title to make them sound like they have input when they don't. That's what it really is. but it makes him feel important to be there. And I'm not diminishing him. I'm just saying this is a structure that the way some companies operate, and they call it something, and that's not what this is. But he's like all gibbly, right, about Success by Design's training. He thinks that's the great, oh, Russ and all that. And so I said, listen, I really want to work with you, Ken. And he says, no, it's amazing what we could do together. And I want all my people to learn Success by Design. I said, okay, I want to introduce you to this idea of a mastermind community, Noble Goldman. And so I explained it to him, and I showed him, and I set up a meeting with Mark, which he missed. And then he missed another one. And so, but I called him a couple of times. I said, let's have this conversation or not about whether or not you want to be part of this mastermind team. And he said, well, I don't understand what it is. I said, okay, well, maybe the reason for that is you haven't been present the last 3 times I've told you. I said, because you do know what this is, and you do know clearly, I've explained to you, and it's okay if you don't want to do it. And he said, you know what the truth is, Russ? And I said, no, but that's always a good thing to talk about. It's the truth. So what is the truth? And he said, I have too much going on. I have all these things. I have all this work to do, and I just don't think I can take on another thing. And I said, okay, I got it. I said, but here's what I want to say. Noble Goldman isn't something else to do. It's not more work to do. It's what you do to make what you're doing work. That's what it is. It's not something else to add on. It's not another opportunity. It's not how to get more people in something. It's not something to show up at that you're like, oh God, I got that meeting this week. How am I going to? That's not what this is. This is something that once you understand the power of surrounding yourself with contribution and people who are just dying to give it, and you have the gift to be able to give back to them. Once you get that, and how important that is, and how much that can make everything else you're doing fall in place, that's when you'll be ready to get in this. And it was a breakthrough for me, you guys, because what I got to see is that's an enrollment conversation. That's where you're saying, this is what this is for you. This is the value in it for you. I don't give a rat's ass. If you don't want to do this, I don't want you here. It's like, this is about you. And once you get that, and then you get that it's about other people and the possibility and the contribution that you can make to them with this structure, with this vision, with this community that's being put together, then you know what? It doesn't matter. If they don't get it, they don't get it. But if they do get it, and believe me, if somebody not getting it is a matter of the compensation plan, they're thinking about it the wrong way anyway. The compensation plan is a beautiful cherry on top of the whipped cream. The important part is the compensation that it can bring you just by being present in other people's lives and the difference that you can make for them. That's compensation. Anyway, boy, that was a lot more than you asked for, wasn't it?
Say something. That the light bulb sort of went off for me earlier today, listening again to the episode that we were talking about, when it said all time is spoken for. And that, obviously we all have the same number of hours in the day, and to say, well, I don't have time for it, it's what you make time for. So rather than going, oh, I haven't got time to do that, and so you waste time thinking about not having time, is you just get on and do it. And that's like, Melanie's my accountability partner, and we're just drowning together. but it was like late last night, and suddenly I looked at what people were posting as their flight logs, and I'm like, well, like, if I don't start now, I'm not going to start. There's always going to be, I haven't got time, I haven't done that, I haven't whatever. So yeah, I think, we just have to make our time be filled with the positive things, and then the negative stuff, there's just no time left for it. That's me.
Beautiful. No, that's perfect though. cultural paradigm is we don't have time. Nobody gets any
Right.
more or any less than anybody else.
Well, I spent last week, the last 10 days with 60 teenagers, and they're all overprescribed. I was literally all telling them to do less study, less work, less sport, less of everything. They're just over-programmed to the point that they're in anxiety or depression.
Mm.
And they're programming so far into the future, which is what people are busy, right? They're busy working towards a future they don't actually have, because all we have is here and now. And we've got teenagers who are literally, they're in year 9, they're worried about university. I'm like, bro, there's so many pathways. Like, come into your heart. What we all need to do is just come into our heart and do what makes our heart sing. But I got 10 guys I could bring to my round table. They're all too busy. All too busy. And it's just a plight that society have on themselves at the moment. This brings enormous value to me. I normally do probably 3 hours of these a week, plus I run my own men's circles outside of this as well. So it probably ends up being, 20 hours a month that I do of masterminding across different paradigms. But I just create time for it. I just slot it out. Even though today I'm so busy at the moment, like prepping for tomorrow, and I really didn't have time for this. I'm really going to be compressed for the rest of the day, but I just know it adds value. And I know that I can't make tomorrow night because I'm turning my phone off at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and I won't turn it back on until 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So I can't do tomorrow night's call, but if I didn't make the time, if I didn't get up at 5 a.m. and hit the gym for 5:30, I was either going to miss the gym or miss this. So I just extended. So I went to bed earlier last night knowing that I had to get up. I needed to get my 8 hours in. So I had to go to bed earlier. So we just need to make choices here and now for what makes our heart sing. So Millie, when you're worried about money, like, it's so, the futures doesn't exist, right? If you just come back to your heart and what makes you happy and give that to the world, at some point, somewhere out there, there'll be a path that will create an opportunity for money to show up.
Good.
All we have is here and now.
That's true.
Powerful share, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's shares have been awesome. Is there anything that anybody needs a bit more clarity on before we go?
Did I put you to sleep, Melanie?
No.
I thought I saw a clip saying that you fell asleep or sound asleep.
Oh, when Fiona did her flight log last night, by the time she sent it in, sneakily reading
I got
the
through
comments,
talking and I looked down and said I was fast asleep. Uh-oh.
No, because I got up at 4:30 this morning so I could go stand up paddleboarding. So I'm an early to bed person, so I can get up early and do my workouts.
All righty.
I have got a question, but I really need to go, and I'm a bit worried it will take a long time to answer.
Well, ask the question, and if you have to go, then you can watch the last bit.
True. Yeah. I don't understand Lordin, and I read it. I can see what the acronym stands for, but I still can't get my head around what Lordin means.
Okay. Does anybody want me to answer, or does somebody else want to answer it? Because I know the answer.
Yeah, I think you should say.
Okay, I didn't know this. I did not know this, Melody. So I looked at it and went, how many people did you Lord? Lord, topics of discussion, location, occupation, recreation, dream. What this is actually about is the mastermind section where you're connecting with people, especially the prospects, the people who are wanting to join the groups. So you're having a conversation with them for the first time, and you're talking about where they live, what they do, what they love to, and what they do in the hobbies and so on. So the Lord is actually finding out about them. What are their goals? What are their dreams, aspirations, and so on. And then you're able to say, I spoke to 5 people or whatever. I lauded 5 people.
What does the D stand for?
The dream.
Dream? Yeah.
Dream.
Yeah.
I got lauded by somebody, eh?
You did?
Somebody lauded me after one of my comments on the mastermind page. They sent me a friend request and then they lauded me. Where are you from? And then they wanted to sell me cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people in that group in particular. I actually have spoken to quite a few of them and said, hey, have you read the rules? And if I see you posting again, anything like that, you will be removed because you're not abiding by the rule of the group. You're actually only bothered in there to take. That isn't how we work. So
it's kind of madness going around with that thing.
The thing is, I think, and it goes back to I know like what Corey said, and I know the angle he's coming from. But when you have a group that says rich, what do you think you're going to attract? There's the people who are just after money, and they think that if they put a money tree out in the garden, put a bit of water on it, there's going to be notes flying off it, and they don't have to do anything. It just doesn't work. So the amount of people that, especially the crypto area, I find that the leadership in that, in many cases, not every case, because the same, in many cases, the leadership is very poor, and they treat people as just a number to recruit and get them in to earn a load of money. And I just don't vibe with it. So I instantly pick up on that and go.
Tony has his hand up.
That's why I'm not sure about this lauding thing, because I've been taking Russ's approach more. You're having conversations with people, and so all day, every time you have a random conversation with someone, they're revealing something about themselves, and they're revealing something about what their aspirations are. And if you're paying attention, as Russ teaches, you will pick those things up and you'll store them in your reserve there for when the opportunity arises at the appropriate moment to perhaps ask more of a leading question. But to put in that box, I've lauded 10 people, implies an element of manipulation to me. It's like you're consciously going, ooh, I've got to find so many people today, and unless I get that number up, I'm not achieving anything. I don't quite relate to that, because I feel like we're just having conversations, and when it's appropriate, you'll take the next step if you're paying attention. So I don't quite get to me, that smacks of exactly what you're just talking about, that kind of crypto world of, oh, I've got to find 10 prospects today so I can then change them from being a suspect to a prospect to a likely candidate to whatever, a hot lead or whatever. I get there's obviously an element of we're trying to build an organization, but it should be more organic rather than manipulated or fabricated. That's just my take on it anyway.
Well, I know that when I connect with people now who are wanting to join the groups, I'm actually very direct. I'm using Noble Goldman's free section as the qualifying. So what I'm doing is straight away I'm going, hey, I seen you wanted to join Think and Grow Rich group. I'm one of the moderators that just approved you as part of the group. We have training that's specific to the principles in the book Think and Grow Rich. So if you want to access the training, here's the link. So I'm now giving them straight away. If they want to access training, they can. If they don't, not a problem. And I'm looking for those people then that go, oh, cool, thanks. And they go and take action on it. When they go into the free section of Noble Goldman, I've already done my due diligence and decided if I want to send them the link anyway. But when they go into Noble Goldman and it's free, I send them then a welcome email, which has the steps. They obviously have the opportunity to come into the group. My focus at this point is, have they chosen to join the Your Desired Success group? Have they gone in there and even uploaded their photo? If they're not doing that, they're not really that interested. So there's a series of emails that I'll send through to them. I even offer them a half-an-hour strategy call. So if they choose to book that call in, they're potentially serious. If they choose to be showing up and getting on the masterminds because they get automatically added to the mastermind notification emails, I know that they're serious. But so that's my qualifying process. If they're not, do you know what? I'm not fussed about it, but I'm giving them that information and those tools. If they access that, like we said with Ed, I've created this opportunity for you to have these calls. If you don't show up, got to question whether you're serious about it. Because you're not one of my knights if you're not showing up and doing the work. And I don't want to bring you in here with you thinking that you're a knight and actually affecting all the other knights. So when they get on the strategy call with me, I say, you've got to have these 5 questions answered. I don't want you coming on and go, and I ask you the question and you go, oh, let me think about that. No, because you're disrespecting me. You should have done that. If you're not clear on where you want to go, what you want to achieve, what's your mission, what's your vision, and so on, then we need to go right back and you need to think about that. And if we have to work through it, we will. But don't come on the call without answering those 5 questions and expecting to be one of the shining knights that's going to get my attention in time. Because my true knights need it, who are doing the work.
Question, Martin. Did your perception of this evolve? Obviously, you've been in this a little while now. I think back to it with Russ's initial training about you go through your friend list. You burn all your friends, or you go through like the traditional multi-level marketing type approach of who do I know, and you write this long list.
Warm and cold market.
Yeah, and then you move past that, and then you go into what I'd call the fishing market, where you're going through these different pages, and Mark's cleverly set up a good system that obviously works for prospecting from that. But it still doesn't. It still feels a little bit manufactured to me. But maybe that's because I'm in the early stages. Did you go through that, and has it changed for you as you've gone on? Because I don't feel like I want to approach people as if I'm trying to sell them on the idea of something. I'm just simply having a conversation to say, here's something I found and I think it's great. You might be interested too.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the way a lot of the teachings is done in network marketing, and I never built my Enagic business that way. However, and this is what I said earlier on, I know quite a lot of people for instance, you in particular, you and Corey are prime examples of this. You are both people who I have an incredible amount of respect for. I didn't know Corey that well, but I knew you a lot better, Tony, and you and I had gone off on our separate ways in that time anyway, but I knew there was something that I knew that I had to reach out to you and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Take a look at this. I think it's going to be of value to you, and I know you're going to be of value to it. So,
and by the way, at first I was too busy.
Well, everyone told me they were too busy.
Surprise.
And I said to Ricky, I'm too busy. But so what I've actually done is I've looked at this and I can only go off. I'm inspired, truly inspired by each and every one of you. And in particular, obviously the people that I saw the vision of how this was going to be working for them and the value they were going to bring. Because when I hear Corey say, so much has changed for me since I've been a part of this, I schedule in the masterminds. Tony, you're always showing up. You guys as well as stepped up to facilitate for me when I've not been able to come on here. Now, if I hadn't have reached out and shared this with you, then you wouldn't have had the opportunity to come and be a part of this. And therefore, you'd have been missing what you needed. So this goes back to what I said earlier. I am being very conscious of who I want around me and here, who I want to give my time to about this. Because even when I created the Your Desired Success group, I went through the list and I only invited certain people, not everybody. And there's 5,000 people apparently I'm connected to on Facebook. I didn't just go and invite everyone and just go, whoa, how many people can I get in the group? No, this group is specific. I know what the intention is behind this group. I know the people and the energy I want to create in here. Therefore, there's people I've probably missed, but that's fine. So I think it's important to look at it and go, who am I already connected to that this will be a great tool for them and a value add to helping them achieve their mission? Like I asked in the call earlier, who has a mission to inspire other people? Who feels inspired by other people? I feel inspired by you all. So if I don't give you that opportunity, I'm not allowing you to live your mission to its truest potential. We're connected for a reason. Who am I to make a judgment on not asking somebody? I'd rather ask them and go, do you know what, Martin, it doesn't sound like it's for me. Okay, no problem. No problem. But I'll let you know this is where I am. And by the law of attraction, people are watching. And they're seeing the shifts. There's no doubt about it. The shifts that's taken place for me personally over the last couple of months has been insane. And it's because of you guys. But it's also because of myself choosing to show up.
Yeah. Martin, may I interrupt you for just a second? I have to say something about what you just said that I think is so clear. That's a huge contribution to you, Tony, and I'm not sure whether you got it. And then I have an invitation for you as well. But what you just said, Martin, to me, what you were speaking about, I can't repeat it exactly the way you said it, but when you were talking about who you wanted to invite, you thought about who would this be a fit for. I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's what you said. And Tony, I don't know if you remember the 4 questions that I tell people to ask themselves when they're trying to do anything in terms of build a business or create something. It's, what am I building? And that's the first question you ask, is what am I building? And the second question is, who does it include? When you figure out, when you know what you're out to create, like Martin does, he's got a crystal clear idea right down to King Arthur and the knights of what he's creating. Now, who are the knights? What do they look like? What's in it for them? What would a person who'd be a knight at his table be up to? And that's kind of the way he's sorting that way. So the second question is, who does it include? The third question is, what does it provide? And what does it provide doesn't mean just what does it provide to the people it includes. What does it provide the world? What does it provide as a contribution? And the fourth question is, why would somebody want to be a part of it? All 4 of those questions will have prospects occur for you if you can answer those questions yourself. Now,
can you say those again, please, Ross?
4 questions?
Yeah.
What are you building? Who does it include? What does it provide?
Yep.
Why would somebody want to be a part of it? And that's like a formula that it just came to me one day, is if more people knew the answer to those questions themselves, somebody isn't going to come up and ask you that, you know the answer yourself, then what happens is you are clear about what the conversation is you want to have with people and what you're listening for. It's right in those 4 questions. Now, Tony, on the last Untraining series, I remember you kind of confessed, I think you weren't at a lot of them, and some of them you listened to or you were catching up on.
Catching up, Russ. It's just trying to fit it in. So
oh no, this wasn't about pointing that piece of it out. This Saturday for you, Friday night for me, is the 3rd lesson. The 3rd lesson is the prospecting piece, the prospecting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told people something I'm doing that's new in the trainings. I'm telling people you can invite a guest to any one training. You know, they come as a guest once, and once they've been the guest on one, then they have to enroll in the course. And by the way, the course is on sale now. I'm sorry for the ad, but it's on sale. I took the rebate and the referral fee out of it. Now it's on sale for $350 through the 28th of November. Anyway, this Saturday is going to be the prospecting conversation. Now, I've been leading up because the homework last week was to establish a model for a prospect that was based on you and your own values. Before that, I had done a deep dive on listening. So this is all leading up to, but this session is about distinctions for prospects. You know, I talk a lot about distinctions. Ontologically, distinctions is what has something occur that you didn't see before. Like I talk about the unique distinction you have for the car you drive is what makes it the only car you ever notice. You don't notice the other cars, but when you see one exactly like yours, it shows up because you have a special distinction for that. Well, I'm going to give distinctions for 7 different categories of prospects. This isn't the warm and the cold market conversations or people you know or don't know. This is like the forest for the trees. These are the types of relationships we have, and then you have a model to apply to it. The reason I think this will work for you, Tony, is we're so much alike in so many ways. And I, at one time, was an effective salesperson. But when I was introduced that way, people would shun me because they were just afraid what I was going to say to them to get them to do something, you know? And so I recreated another possibility for how sales are done. And it's more of a fit for you. It's more value and heart-based and has to do with listening and value. And prospecting is the same way. When you understand this possibility for prospecting for anything, you will never, you will have an unlimited resource for prospects forever. Prospecting will never be an issue. You want us to stop and think, how do I talk to this person, or what kind of person am I looking for? No, they just occur. So I invite you, if you can, to be live on that one this weekend, if you have the time. And if not, it'll be recorded. But I so appreciate, you know, the way you let me, Martin, just shoot off, you know, and I was paying such close attention to you. And at the same time, I was dying for my turn to talk. I wanted to make sure I try to get what you said, because what you said was so valuable and was right at Tony. And I wanted to make sure he really got what you were saying, because I think I really did.
Thanks, Russ.
I'm so tickled to be part of this group. I got to tell you, I love coming here. I'm sorry I was late.
It's quite funny because 2 of the groups that I had last week were groups of 12, and I called them my Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
No coincidences, Corey.
All my 12 disciples. And I challenged them to, like, what would it look like for them to be together in circle after? So how do they continue to mastermind about gratitude, whatever it is that's going on in their world around their depression or anxiety, to hold these masterminds? So in their own space.
I have to just add something to that, Corey. That's perfect. We were on holiday in the Cocos Islands a few weeks back, and we were scuba diving, and a pod of 12 dolphins came up and started interacting with us. And I'm just going, how is the symbolism here? I'm looking for 12. There we go.
Did you give them your link?
No, I'm going back in June. I'll give it to them then.
Higher intelligence. Yeah, that's been, look, I know obviously we've definitely filled out the hour anyway there with Russ joining as well.
A second hour. He gave me another
fantastic.
Hour.
There's been a hell of a lot covered, and obviously all of great value. So I thank each and every one of you for your shares, and I'm looking forward to the takeaways as well. There's been a hell of a lot. And Corey, go and enjoy yourself, bro, for the next 24 hours when you leave tonight. I know you will. And Saturday, you said, Russ, is it Saturday your time or Saturday our time?
No, Saturday your time. It's Friday night my time. And I recommend, for full benefit, you listen to last week's second one. So it would have been the Saturday one for me.
That will be in the untraining group.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know Beth and I are going to sit down and go through that stuff that we missed as well from last time. There's just there's so much that we are.
You're a permanent member of my roundtable. I was in Camelot, not as Arthur though.
I think it's at 12 noon, isn't it here? Because it used to be 11, and I think it's now 12.
It is 7 o'clock. Excuse me. 8 o'clock Pacific time.
8 o'clock
So it's
PST.
Yeah, 8 o'clock PM Pacific time and 8 o'clock AM Pacific time on
That's 12.
Saturday.
That's 12 o'clock for us.
12 noon Saturday.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, especially Tony and Fiona for being on for 2 hours. That's great work, great commitment.
Yeah.
And I'll upload the recording of this, and I'm actually going to do a video on the first half of the Gold Star 90-Day Success Mastermind, 90-Day Success Challenge, and a video on the second half, just because people ask me quite a lot of questions, just to help people get started properly on that, even though it's the first time I've ever done it. So, Fiona, yeah?
What can we put the mastermind that we've just been in, like the 2 hours, where does that slot into our thing so I can, you know, is this the learning part or the...
I actually put masterminds in my study because of what I receive from it.
Because the bit about development, that's not us partaking, that's what we're going to do, isn't it?
Where have you got development? Oh yeah, personal development. I put it in a study. Oh, mastermind development. No. So the mastermind development is actually you building your team to create your masterminds. The personal development one at the top is actually the study. So as I said, every time I do a mastermind now, I used to put it in as productive in the abundance game, but I shifted it and said, no, I learned so much from being on there. It's actually study.
So when it says 30 minutes, and we've gone 2 hours, am I still allowed to have 120
Yeah, right,
minutes?
120.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
At
you.
the end of the day, you can put whatever you like. It's really, it's just a gauge for you of, have you done what you said you were going to do, and have you made it part of your daily habit to fit this stuff in?
I've printed out every single page, so can't avoid it now.
Yeah.
You won't get marks deducted or anything. No one's going to smack you or put you with a dunce's cap in the corner or anything if you didn't do something.
It's my corner.
Give over, Ross. Right. Thank you so much for your time and your sharing and your energy and your love and support. And I look forward to touching base with you again very soon. Enjoy your evening, Russ, where you are, and
Okay.
enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Will do. And I'll have the right time next week. It's the old time. The old time. All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.